Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And we're back here on Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here with Barnet Bain. I saw a joke recently. I'm going to edit a little bit again for radio, but not much. It was one of those banners on Facebook, and it said, maybe the light at the end of the tunnel when we die is just the opening of another womb that we're coming out of. And I chuckled and said, oh, that's brilliant. The idea that, because I mean, one of the things that we were just talking about, the way I personally reference it is in some of the intense traumas of my life, adult life, well, even child life, but really I'm speaking now as an adult facing my world as I've held it coming apart, involves sleepless nights. And so it really is a dark night of the soul. It's like all night long I'm awake and I'm like, can't sleep, and I'm tossing and turning and I'm crying and I'm whatever I'm going through. And then the dawn comes up and there's something really, I don't know, magical about the light coming up and the new day. And so as much as that, sort of banner is intended to be a joke, that there is a rebirth. There is a death and a rebirth, a natural cycle, and the death is sometimes excruciating and hard, but the light at the end of the tunnel is us being birthed into something new.
I have a really good friend who has said to me over the years many times that the night gives back what the day takes away.
But you got to be willing to go through
restored.
it. You don't. I mean, you don't take a sleeping pill. You stay up and you struggle because that's life.
We're restored and we become replenished. And when the dawn breaks, we have the resilience and we have the resources to meet that day again. But the day takes its toll, and that night is restorative, even if it's sometimes not pleasant.
Yeah.
You become more on the other side.
Oof. Glad it's you, not me.
Exactly.
That sentiment is so real.
Things could be worse, right? It could be me.
Yeah. Oh, but again, I know that it's only a minute and a half before my moment will come where whatever the heck I was holding on to in a particular form, the form falls apart, and I have to, know that something will come. Something else will come. What I like about my life in general, this may be a strange segue, but I don't think it is that my choices organize thematically around, much of what we talk about on this show, like the quality of fun, the idea of being of service, the idea of how to express my gifts in a way that it's generous so that people can receive what I have to give. And it's not so much ego-driven about me gaining success or notoriety or whatever, all of which those pieces come along too, like the part of me that wants approval, the part of me that's trying to figure it out and double down on how do we get this to work and outcome-driven thinking. All of that comes. But there's my commitment to organizing back to, as you like to say, the function and letting go of the form, not entirely, knowing there's forms that I could see it come out as, but I know enough to know that I don't know and that I'll find my way. So what I want to report in the dark night of the soul is the things I have anchored to. You mentioned your relationship with your wife, which I think is such a great anchor, or really what you guys have created in my mind, and Jazz and I have done something similar, is a container wherein you can bounce around. You can have these tough moments, and Sandy's not apt to die with you. You do your sleepless night and she goes into the room, goes to sleep. It's midnight. I've talked to him long enough. He's going to figure it out and I can go to sleep now because she's not dying with you. And I think that is, again, a testament to what you've created, response systems that are really empowered, curiosity, in the middle of the panic versus just doubling down on how do we fix it,
I don't know. I want to share this. I don't know. Again, like as you just said, I'm not sure how this fits in and why it's a segue, but I want to share it anyway. So last week, I am at my market and I'm getting a coffee, and I'm standing behind a guy, a little younger than me, probably a lot younger than me, but very fresh-faced and beautiful. And he's telling me that he came down from Seattle and he's going to the beach, and then he said something I couldn't really track it about. I understood that he had a friend whose daughter passed away, was murdered in that incident in Santa Barbara.
Whoa.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, a friend. And he said, no, not a friend, my daughter.
Whoa.
And that he was there. And then his wife came up. I'm bringing this up because it's in reference to what happens when you see a relationship that is so intimate and the rapport is so deep that they are together weathering such storms. Oh. So his wife came up and she had two baby pails from the market. We're out at the beach, and these were like beach
sand toys.
Beach pails with buckets. And she said she got the kids were waiting. They had some other kids that were waiting on the beach across the street, and they were going to meet up and scatter the ashes into the sea. So a couple of things happened to me in that moment. One is it rocked me.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I was also very aware. He said to me, "Thank you." And I was very moved that he would thank me. He said, "Thank you. I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's just that it feels better to speak it."
Oh, that's so wise.
So that rocked me. And then also I was aware that I could see how they were holding each other. And I could also see that it hadn't really landed in the body yet. It was still very etheric, very dreamy. Because they did not, I could see it had not yet processed their loss. It's so enormous that we protect ourselves by
absolutely.
There were parts that were shut down.
Yeah.
They were at the cash register paying for their pails, and it was both poignant and they were joking and.
Yeah, you still have to pay for your coffee.
So life is messy.
It is
my point.
Well, and what Daphne said too about coming out of her, her moment of complete breakdown, and someone offers her a potato chip.
Exactly.
That's who talks about this so beautifully? The show we did with Ken Druck, because his daughter Jenna passed away at a college age. She was on a trip to India and was in a bus crash. And he speaks so beautifully about in that moment. I might cry. Everything that I knew is gone.
It all changes.
And I still had to get up, and we still had to go through stuff, and we still had to go through the services and invite people and deal. And
so
puts in perspective.
To sort of wrangle this all together, there are these crises that inundate us beyond our current capacities to respond, our accustomed capacities to respond. And
but
sometimes we can create communities.
That's it.
In which to respond to, through which to respond to them as this young girl's beautiful parents. I could see how together they were going through this dark night together and responding. And sometimes we do it in a community that we cobble together with our relationship to friends, both physical, non-physical, spiritual. However we pull it together, it's important to remember we are never alone. And in the depths of those moments, we don't always, but I certainly feel I have a tendency to forget that.
Well, and where you've created friendships and a marriage that can support you, because that's when we really know what we've got. I mean, that's such a almost cliche term, but it's so true. Who are the folks who will stand with us when it's completely messy and unpredictable, and help us with a container, a kind of structure, something that's reliable, so that we can go through it? Because look.
So that saying, you don't know what you've got until you decide to know what you've got.
I don't know that saying, but I like it.
That's me rewriting Joni Mitchell.
That's
with
right.
All due apology, all apologies
Joni.
and respect.
It's such a great point. So, Spence, any idea where we're at? Because I've completely lost. Usually Barnet loses control.
I've lost it. We got, what is that, 2 minutes?
2, yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's good.
Wow.
So
Why
we
did
can
get so much time.
I don't know. So there is a dawning, and there is a new day, and it doesn't minimize the painful parts of life and the little deaths. And, you know, when we're in them, they're not little, they're big, and they feel overwhelming. But there's enough wisdom to know that's part of the experience. And that's the good news, you know. Again, I don't look for these coming aparts in my life because they are uncomfortable and I don't necessarily like them, but I do have a level of reverence for them being part of the human experience enough to know that when I'm in it, that it's okay. It's all okay, even though it doesn't feel okay. There's enough of me knows. And there's, again, as you were pointing out, there's enough support around me for me to have that humanity.
There are some little deaths, as you refer to them, that we are that we can welcome and we can invoke and we can consciously choose to die to these things. There are many, many things. There are many attitudes and many responses and many assumptions and many patterns of behavior and belief that are old, that are baggage, that I continue to cart around, that I'm well served to recognize and to acknowledge and to release and to die to them and allow them. We had Joe Dispenza on last week. So when you feed them with attention, you are myelinating brain function, creating neural patterns and reinforcing neural patterns. And when you shift attention from them, you are creating new neuronal structures, and those ones in due course atrophy and disappear. And so the idea that you can allow your past to slip away is a real one. And although we may not necessarily choose to allow the details, the who and the what, to slip away, the emotional baggage around them, we're really well served to allow to pass and to slip away in favor of something new. And so there's little deaths and conscious deaths and big deaths and deaths by crises.
Indeed. And the death that we're facing is the end of the show.
We just ran out of time.
Yeah. So we invite you all to join us again because we will be reborn next week.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Same bad time, same bad channel. Thanks for tuning in to Cutting Edge Consciousness.